Good morning. Happy Monday. It's a new week. Welcome to the Baseball Insiders live on YouTube. I am Adam Weinrib, joined not by Fansided's MLB insider Robert Murray today, though he will be back. He is my co-host. Today, my co-host is the one and only Jessica Kleinschmidt, hanging out with the A's to start the season and giving us updates, boots on the ground, and discussing potential early season surprises, disappointments, changes to her adjustments that have already had to be made to her preseason predictions just a couple of short weeks into the season. Jess, thank you for joining me. Appreciate you rocking the co-host duties, and this should be a fun one.
It will be a fun one. We're just coming off of, facing Robert's Brewers, so I'm sure he's very happy that he's not here. It's where I can just feel terrible about it, but it's okay.
Well, we're obviously going to pass along your thoughts. So any mean things that you want to say directly to Robert, just pass them through me. I'll send them along.
Mhm.
We can even do a separate episode where he responds. Maybe we'll get his avails for the rest of the week, see if we can make it happen. Appreciate you for joining us, of course. Appreciate everybody for joining us live. If you are not here live, we hope you're here either on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. In the aftermath, you can get the audio feed. If you could rate and review the video, the feed, we would love whatever you got for us. We will take it. You can also join the Baseball Insiders by becoming a member, and that gets you access to our Discord. You can either join us at the Rumor Mill tier or the All-Star tier. Exclusive Q&As with Robert in the Rumor Mill channel on Thursdays at 3 o'clock Eastern. Though, again, we're going to move that around this week. He will be at the NFL draft in Green Bay, and I do not think you will like his answers to your questions midway through that particular day. If you are not subscribed to the Moonshot, that's our weekly baseball email newsletter where the Fansided MLB team, including Robert Murray, break down all the biggest stories in the big leagues with humor, insight, behind-the-scenes info. I'm in there sometimes too. And if you aren't subscribed, you can also get that content on the Baseball Insiders feed on fansided.com. That is fansided.com/baseball-insiders for Robert's rumors and notes, humor and insight from me, and the best of baseball and pop culture crossovers from the Fansided MLB staff writer. So check that out. Jess, that was a lot. Let's just get into it.
That was impressive. You got that's a lot. It's like when Saltalamacchia goes on the back of a uniform, like his name, it's got to go in there, and you did it beautifully.
That's kind of how you felt, like that watching that was like watching a uniform maker stitch Saltalamacchia in
pretty much. Holding on for its dear life. Absolutely.
I will take that. I will pocket that. I will run with that, and it will be in my thoughts after we sign off. Good compliment. Thank you. Well, I want to touch base on your team, on the team that you see every day first. And I want your insight here because Robert and I talked about this on the last show because I wanted to compare and contrast your thoughts. Anything you are surprised with in the early going, but probably most notably, what is Tyler Soderstrom doing differently year over year? Just a part of the same process? Like, why? First and foremost, why? What's happening?
Great question. No, that's a great question, Adam. No, I'm glad you asked because I have been talking to him, and this was after the first opening series against the Mariners. The home runs were certainly there. We know the power's there, but it was all about, pitch recognition and understanding the strike zone, and his chase rate's down, his whiff rate is down. So it's about a scenario of he's always had the power, but now he's becoming the power hitter. And I think that's what they ultimately want. Home runs are fine. And that happened with Brent Rooker last year. He was hitting home runs, but he was being, hitting more for average, which is ultimately the goal. And Tyler Soderstrom also, he got his MLB debut last season with Zach Gelof. Gelof had a fantastic debut. He killed it. He was rookie of the month that month. But with Tyler, he left a lot to be desired. And I think it was just a small little adjustment that they made with hitting coach. And I feel like for Darren Bush, the same guy who basically fixed Lawrence Butler. And Lawrence Butler had a fantastic breakout season in the second half. So it's just all about those really minute changes. And Tyler Soderstrom, after he was drafted, really had a lot of work to do. Like, it doesn't matter if you get drafted, he's one of the guys where he had to put like muscle on, he had to, gain a little bit more. But the power was the ceiling for the power was always there. But the thing I've been most impressed with, and people aren't really talking about it, is how good his defensive capabilities have been. There's been a hole at first base for a while. Ryan Noda was a fantastic defensive first baseman, but his numbers weren't there at the plate. And I think what Tyler's done, because he's such a fantastic catcher, that's helped him. And he's able to dig the ball really well. He's a decent sized target. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if Nick Kurtz gets called up soon. But ultimately, we knew the power was there. It was just about the consistency catching up with it. And he also was one of the guys where Kotz said, you really have to impress me. Like, we know what you're capable of because you are a number one player. You're a top guy. We just need to see that from you. And Kotz is known to tell those guys that, and they always step up because Kotz is a man you want to play for and you want to impress. So it's just mainly about understanding the power is certainly there, but having all the consistency catch up with it. And ultimately that's what making every hitter successful if they continue to get jobs.
I'm glad you mentioned Kurtz too, because it's maybe been a few years since we've had sort of this overflow of talent in this organization and up and down the depth chart. Do the guys talk about, are they watching the Vegas games? Are they wondering when Kurtz is maybe going to get the call and join this early season mojo, or what is the conversation there?
The conversation it's not as in depth as you might think. They just want to win some ball games, but they're obviously very aware of Nick Kurtz. And I think it has a lot to do with Jacob Wilson too, because Jacob Wilson went so fast through the rankings, and obviously his defensive IQ is there. You want to talk about bat on ball skills. You cannot pitch to him. He's going to get a hit. And he had like a strong, I think a 13, 14 hitting streaks that went to last season. And I talked to David Force, the A's GM, about it. And the only concern about Nick Kurtz is the fact that we saw Jacob Wilson get promoted so quickly and go through the ranks so quickly. And Nick did the exact same thing. But ultimately, think about this. What else does he have to prove? A AAA pitching is definitely not what it used to be. I feel like AAA is not, how do I say this? They don't have all AAA ball players who are journeymen who just stay on that team forever, who are very talented, like 4A players, but they couldn't make it to the MLB. They're either just going to stay and be done, or they get called up. There's not as many steps as there used to be. I talked to TJ McFarland about that, who's been in the league for a long time, and it's just different. So for Kurtz, he's gotten his at-bats. He's shown what he can do defensively. Obviously having him at first base would kind of fill the hole that Matt Olson left, because they're the exact same guy as far as defensively goes. And I know people are saying, well, he can play left field. Why would you put him in left field when he's a fantastic first baseman? And the DH situation, you're really going to sit Brent Rooker when he's finally starting to get hot and turn into what he's supposed to be and what he was last year. So there's some talks, but I also know there isn't necessarily a rush. Kotz is being asked about it a lot, but who knows? And I'm keeping up with what he's doing. I went to spring breakout and I'm writing for Baseball America now. So I was looking at him, but he's definitely ready to go. He's one of the very few guys who gets drafted where you don't have to wait for him to put on muscle. Like, he's good to go. I talked to some of the front office members about that. Body wise, he's going to be fantastic in an MLB uniform. I don't know when that's going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be before the All-Star break or around the All-Star break. But ultimately, how are they going to make things move? You mentioned the depth. It's the first time we have a lot of first world problems in the A's organization. So it'll just be interesting to see how roster construction goes.
A lot of depth, a lot of face of the franchise jockeying. Butler, Rooker, Wilson, Mason Miller. I mean, what's the Scherzer situation in Sacramento? Who's selling out in the clubhouse store? Who's staying on the shelves? Who's on?
I'm glad you asked. I just did a promo for the team store, and they had all the jerseys up, and I want to say there was way few Jacob Wilson jerseys left over. So that was pretty impressive. And they had a lot of Max Muncy's that were getting taken off as well. So I want to say that. And Lawrence Butler's are getting pretty quickly, but he's great with the fans and everybody. But I will say it's a different fan base. It's very different in Sacramento. It kind of feels like it's a mixture of, A's fans and curious people. And I think that that's what's been really, really cool. But every day I go there, the team store's filled up with people. And I did try on a Jacob Wilson jersey for the promo, and I did his really unique batting stance for it. So look out for that. It's going to be so cringy. It's going to be so cringy, but obviously it's working for him. And everybody said it looked just like him. So
yeah, who among us has not done cringe though? We've all been there.
It's my middle name. Actually, It's Danielle, but it should be cringe. Yeah.
I don't know if you can change your middle name. I don't know if it's cringe to change your middle name, but it's probably
pretty cringe. Yeah.
Honestly, if you want to up the cringe just even one more level. I need my Lawrence Butler. That's my jersey guy. So Let's see if I get my hands on that soon.
It's I get a discount, so you just let me know.
That's how you do it, folks. You invite guests on the show and then subtly, not so
40% discount for an A's employee. I got you.
You just say out loud, I want products, and then hopefully the guests maybe.
Boom.
Yeah, there we go. Well, hey, early season disappointments, that's not one of them. I'm not disappointed at all that I just swung a hot trade deal live on the air. But I did want to touch base sort of league-wide on what you've seen early in the season. I want to center your expectations. We're only a couple weeks in, but I think already some teams have, you look at them objectively and you say, this is not what I signed up for. And some other folks, there's some good surprises too. So I'm curious to start, which team that you had high expectations for are you already sort of disappointed in 3 weeks in, and now they have to win back your trust? Like, we're already at that point.
I would say the Atlanta Braves are kind of not impressing me. And mind you, I know half of the guys. They're all former A's. Nick Allen is having some amazing at-bats, though. That's also kind of surprising. But I think he just needed more of the opportunities and maybe a change of scenery. Defensively, he's always been sound, but the reason why he wasn't playing regularly in the bigs was his lack of offensive capabilities. And he's figuring those things out. It just really feels like they were last season or last postseason where they were riddled with injury. And if Chris Sale's saying those things, he's like, 6.17 ERA. And he's very open about the fact, like, I'm just bad. He quote saying, I'm just trying to compete and trying to throw strikes, and it's just not working. I don't know if I've ever been this frustrated. He's coming off of obviously a Cy Young Award season, and he's a veteran. He knows what's working and what doesn't, and it's the Braves, right? Not only are they a prestigious TBS team that we all know and love, but they put a lot of monetary value into those guys. We saw that with the Olsen extension, with Sean Murphy and every other player. They just put so much money into it. So I haven't been really impressed with what they were able to do. But I will say overall across the league, maybe obviously minus the White Sox, it's a very even playing field right now. And I think that that's been really impressive, which means it's anybody's game. I think when you're not looking at the wins and losses, you can see what talent is sticking out a little bit more. So if we're saying that we're not impressed with the Braves, there's obviously a lot of positives coming out of each individual team. But it's also a very small sample size. Like, the Padres were supposed to have a strong starting rotation. And even Dylan Cease is putting up numbers that the ERA isn't really matching up with the number of strikeouts. So there's a lot of weirdness happening. But when it comes to the Braves, I'm very much like, why are hitters hitting 313 off of Chris Sale? Like, it's weird. So
yeah, it's hard not to go with the Braves. And then you even add that element of discord from yesterday where Ronald Acuña Jr., in a post that I had to check like 3 times to confirm it was actually him, and it was, tweeted that, hey, if Brian Snitker's comments about Jarred Kelenic not hustling, saying, should I have said anything to him? And if I had, I would have said good swing, which, I mean, Tone Deaf doesn't even begin to cover it. Acuña Jr. said, if this was me, I would have been pulled from the game. Like, we are in internal strife territory with the Braves, I would say. Congrats on sweeping the Twins, but we're now reaching that level where not only are the on-field results not matching, not only is Chris Sale confused, but we're getting to the infighting stage. And that's where I think we're in like long-term danger, not just early April danger.
Yeah. And I know you kind of mentioned the Acuna stuff. I did a little bit of, I want to say research, but what Ken Rosenthal said about it, I can understand why there was frustrations, because Ken wrote about it. The issue raised by Acuna is the kind that might expose a rift in a team that is almost 1/3 Latin. So I have no grounds to talk about what it feels like to be a person of color in this world that is obviously going to crap right now. So I think that was something that was brought up. And we all remember, when Acuna left that game in 2019, in the middle of the game, he went into the tunnel to talk to Snitker. That was in the middle of the game. So that's what he was talking about. And I don't know if it was a scenario that had to do with any sort of microaggression. It's not my place to say. I was just quoting what Ken Rosenthal said. I certainly don't have a platform to talk about it, but I'm hoping it wasn't that scenario. I really, really hope it wasn't that scenario. And overall, though, I understand like pimping out the home run, and we all deal with it. Like broadcasters deal with it. They don't know if a ball's out or not. So you're not 100% sure, but it was his 36th possible home run. So there was something brewing in August where he was probably hitting the most home runs in the league at one point. So I can understand that you want to entertain the fans. You have adrenaline, whatnot. But I feel like with this particular situation, it doesn't have to be as big of it, but I appreciate Acuna having the wherewithal to be open about how he was feeling about it. And if he's feeling a certain way because of certain things that I have no idea, I'm glad he felt comfortable enough to at least tweet it at the time. He obviously deleted it, and that causes the whole thing. And Snitker doesn't know anything about social media, but I'm hoping that it's not something dire and it's going to turn into something bigger than baseball, and it could hurt a lot of people's, I don't want to say feelings, but that's people's livelihoods. And if there's something going on there, it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and it definitely needs to be brought up in any current discussion of, added context for the Braves struggles for sure. And like you said, hey, they're your clear pick right now, and it's really hard to make a case for an alternative. Although the comments coming up with the Orioles would probably be my number 2, just to say.
Yeah, what was that game the other day? Like,
yeah, I mean,
mind you, I had to do Brewers A's, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more fun than checking. You ever study like the Stuff Plus, and you're like, oh, they put out a Stuff Plus report on Jorge Mateo and Gary Sanchez in the same game. Like, those are both position players. That's not good. And I was even having a casual conversation. The score is 24-2. And someone, my wife said to me, is that the most, runs ever scored? And I was like, actually, no, I actually remember the record, and it was 30-3. And it was also the Orioles. So like, that's kind of a bummer when you've gotten walloped to an historic level twice as a franchise. Yeah. Maybe don't give away bobbleheads of the owner on Saturday too. That felt like kind of a premature victory lap there.
I'm telling you. But yeah, you're right. The Orioles are definitely somebody to mention as well. And I feel like the offseason for the Orioles, we joked about it. They had 75 outfielders at one point, and not saying these outfielders were bad, but like, what are you going to do with all of them? And I'm a diehard Ramon Laureano fan. I will run into a brick wall for him because he would do the same thing for me. He almost, beat up the entire Astros team. The guy's really competitive. And so from that perspective, I can see why the front office would like guys like that. O'Neill, O'Hearn, these situations that have been taking place. You understand what they're trying to do, but you also have to even it out with other signings. And we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to take place, but I also know that you have to look at the entire, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a front office person, but I also know that I would like to know in the next 2 weeks, something to happen for the front office to be like, told you so. I'm just now dealing with that with the A's. Front office, I'm like, that's why you did that. That's why you did that. And obviously dealing with the team that has way more turnover than the Baltimore Orioles, it might be different. But in the next 2 weeks, if something happens to where it's like the light bulb goes off, the pitching all of a sudden starts taking place, then I'll shut my mouth. And I think the Orioles fans and everybody else, they're very frustrated as well, especially coming off of a solid couple of seasons. Postseason last year was kind of weird. That was way too fast for them. Yeah. But this time around, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, last year, borderline just getting double shuttied by the Kansas City Royals. And it is funny, the last time we were on this show together, we talked about, hey, I don't understand the Orioles offseason. Like, you're right. Hey, what's with the depth chart? And then now here we are in mid-April, they're probably the number 2 most disappointing.
Yeah, they should have, what did we talk about? If Alex Bregman moved to outfield, yeah, Orioles would have signed him right off there.
Yeah. I mean, look, you say you're not a GM, you're not front office, but the last time we were here, we were like, hey, these front office moves smell bad. And here we are in the regular season, and they're still bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. Well, hey, let's narrow the focus a little bit on Joy. We have to talk about Joy sometimes. Have any teams impressed you relative to your preseason expectations already? And that could include, the team in your own backyard, which I know you were bullish on the last time we spoke too, and they have had some positive early returns.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised the A's aren't winning more games. And I think from the Padres series alone, genuinely, I feel like the A's could have swept them. The home field though is bizarre. They're still figuring that out. I talked to JJ Bleday about it. His defensive capabilities, the numbers are really bad for somebody who's been improving on defense, but it's basically like they're playing out on turf. I know people thought it was going to be a turf field. It is not, but it might as well be. And the ball's flying more than just because it's warm and where it's located. When it bounces, you have no idea where it's going to go. It's not very forgiving. I'm not making excuses, but I've never seen JJ Bleday run around like he looks insane running after the ball every single time. And so when you're going up against a team like the Cubs or the Padres or the Mets, things are going to happen. But on that note, I was very impressed with the Cubs. Very impressed with the Cubs. I feel like they were going to be okay. I'm a Kyle Tucker truther. I've adored him. I've loved his approach. I think he was like a Walmart Matt Olson at one point, a Walmart Brent Rooker. But now it's looking like Brent Rooker and him, as far as the hitting capabilities, they're on the same length or same wavelength. And so from that perspective, I've been impressed. The starting pitching's been great. PCA's been awesome. Horner's been awesome. Ian Happ's had a lot of impressive at bats. So that's been really, really impressive. And watching them in person, the first day, the home opener, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if it's just the field's going to play this way, but it turns out like they're actually a really good ball club, and especially from the hitting perspective, and the Brewers as well. The way that the Brewers really held themselves, and not just saying that, but I mean, Luis Severino had a fantastic outing to take one of the games, but we're talking about a Brewers team who stole those 9 bases, had at least two MLB debuts during that series, and they were fantastic. Durbin had a fantastic, I think it was a foul catch inside the A's dugout. Like the guys were just sitting there and he grabs it. He almost hit a home run in his MLB debut, like in his first at bat. And that's showing from that aspects. And they have an injury riddled rotation and they're still doing well. So it's going to be interesting. I know people are going to talk about a tough schedule, but there's literally only 2 teams that are not part of a tough schedule. I'm just going to say that. And the Rockies and the White Sox. And those are the 2 teams that the A's pretty much won the series, and it was also on the road. But I also know that the Brewers were a big test for them because that's a really solid team. And Christian Yelich is back. He's back, so I've been very impressed with what they were able to do. Unfortunately, they did do a franchise record against the green and gold, but what are you going to do? They're very nice. A's give out gifts every now and then.
There is the Brewers, there's no like maybe better illustration than the first series of the year panic being overblown, then the Brewers recovering to do what they always do and call up guys like Durbin and find solid pitching and uncover Jose Quintana and fill out a rotation. They look like NL Central contenders just like they did last year and the year before. But the first series of the year, everybody panicking about the Yankees, making the Brewers, running them over in that opening series. But then look where we are now. Both teams look solid, but the Yankees in that first series, people saying, oh my gosh, the torpedo bats, they're cheating. We got to ban these. Like, look what Anthony Volpe's doing. Look what Jazz Chisholm's doing. Smash cut to April 21st. Anthony Volpe's hitting .213. Jazz Chisholm's hitting.
Why are people thinking torpedo bats are like PEDs? Like, it's stop it.
Anytime a new thing shows up, it's like somebody's got to flag it down.
Or any other team besides the Yankees and the Dodgers who brought this up, it would be nothing. But I will say, everybody was talking to hitters about the torpedo bats. I took it one step further. I talked to a pitcher about it, Joey Estes, and he embraced it. And mind you, going up against a pitcher, they don't want to know anything's better. Hitters are going to look into it. You don't think Brent Rooker did a quick Amazon gift, like an Amazon order? Like, of course, he did it. JJ Bleday did it. Shea Langoliers did it. Mark Kotsay himself said, hell yeah, I would love to swing one of those bats. But Estes said, you know what? It's no different than playing golf, a round of golf. You have a driver, you have a putt, you use a certain type of bat for a certain scenario. How was that any different? And I think it remains a bunch to be seen, but I will say, I think from that perspective, it's so good for the game. Just like a good storyline. I'm not saying you like, I'm not going to go up with a torpedo bat and hit .313. That's not going to happen. But I also know if it's going to help you, if it's going to help your livelihood and make fans happy, all damn day.
313 for you, oddly specific goal, and makes me think that you've thought out this vision before.
Well, that's what they're hitting off of Chris Sale right now.
Yes, of course. So yeah, theoretically, what you're saying is every batter facing Chris Sale is the equivalent of Jess Kleinschmidt with a torpedo bat in your fantasy.
I'm getting Jess Kleinschmidt torpedo bat vibes. What I'm saying.
I kind of am too, and I was before, and now I definitely am.
For sure.
By the way, that why is there this outcry? There wouldn't be if it was any team other than the Yankees or Dodgers. I just want to double down and let everybody know Jess said that, not me, and that it holds more weight that she said it and not me. I never said that, but
I said it. I said it.
Yeah. So there we go. There you go. Comment section. There you go. Light it up.
Yeah.
Preseason predictions. Have you seen enough from anybody to change yours, your World Series prediction, your playoff predictions? Or are you still going to kind of ride it out? I don't know how far you have the Braves going, et cetera.
Yeah. My World Series prediction is, I literally said, I have no idea. But I think the NL West is going to be the must-watch division. And I talked to Bo Mel about it. I don't remember if he was with the Padres or the Giants at the time, but he said this might be the most difficult and competitive division overall. I just worry because the Padres are insane. They are insane. They remind me of and the fan base too. I feel like the fan base adds a couple of runs. It makes the ERA lower. That happened with Felix Hernandez, when he would play and pitch. I guess it was T-Mobile or Safeco, whenever it was. But when he was on the mound, his ERA was impacted because of the fans. And that's just something that you can't get in a baseball reference page. So the way that those fans show up, the way that they play for the fans is going to help them. I know that's not everything. Starting pitching was not supposed to be as strong as it was. And even when the Padres were in town, I talked to a couple of the broadcasters and they're like, the starting pitching hasn't been too great. This is after Dylan Cease, and he had a really tough time against the A's. But overall, Michael King's been solid. Obviously, this young talent, Fernando Tatis Jr. is having a resurgent season after his dad said, "You are not a good hitter." These things are really great, and we're not even seeing the best of them. I'm waiting for Jake Cronenworth to kind of step up once again. Obviously, Luis Ariz is insane because him and Jacob Wilson have the exact same shortness of a bat speed, and they're hitting the what out of the ball. And I'm also glad he's safe, by the way. I'm glad he's going to be back today. So it's one of those aspects. Obviously, defensively, I've always been impressed by them. And so as time goes on, it'll be interesting to see what they do heading into the postseason. Because if it's another Padre versus Dodger scenario, it's going to be must-watch TV. But the Dodgers have to win everything now because of the $1 trillion team that they put together. So the NL West is going to be really fun to watch. And the Giants, they've had a really good, road series. They've gone up against some really difficult teams. Ho Lee's having a fantastic season. That's why they paid the money. Willy Adames isn't quite where they want him to be, but he's going to be. And, a lot of shifts too, Casey Schmidt's playing first base. We're going to see how that works out. Obviously, Matt Chapman, I've watched him for years and he's always been, he had the power. It's about the consistency and they put a lot of money into him. Yaz is having a fantastic season. So it's one of those things where the NL West, don't sleep on them and do not sleep with one eye open around the Padres. It's so stupid, but I'm always kind of a Padres girl and they are coming as advertised for sure. The NL West is as a whole.
Yeah, I've been blown away. And look, just, it doesn't take a genius to be blown away by what's going on out there. But I'm not going to waver on my Dodgers prediction just yet because I wonder if what this does in the end is iron sharpen iron, just makes the Dodgers stronger at coming out of the regular season and into the postseason. You don't stumble out of the gate. You don't have to save yourself against San Diego if you already feel like you're ready for that level of competition when the playoffs start. But yeah, it's really hard to. I'll give a shout out to the New York Mets as well. I'm not sure what their team ERA is after Sunday. Probably still pretty good. But entering Sunday's game, it was 2.27. And that's just about as good as it gets from top to bottom. So hard not to shout out the NL first in any conversations about what a championship looks like at this point. No change to my preseason predictions, sticking with the Dodgers. But yeah, the NL West is a lot more clustered at the top than I think any of us expected.
And even, the Diamondbacks, we didn't even talk about them. They're always a team that like puts up some solid numbers, because Corbin Carroll obviously had that sophomore slump and he doesn't want a repeat of that. And I think that's what's exciting too is, and I talked, and Kotz mentioned it, the second season of your tenure, if you're going to be in the league for a long time, is your biggest season. First, you're maybe, I don't want to say beginner's luck, but it's just like you have the adrenaline, you're doing what you need to do. Second season, if you're struggling, it's because the league figured you out. So it's about you adjusting to everybody else's adjustment. So imagine Corbin Carroll with his tree trunk legs all of a sudden is just going to be unstoppable. And so having those 4 teams go at it, it's just going to be so much fun to watch. And especially with the expanded schedule, like in that, and the Phillies are always in it. Like, but I will say with the Mets, the A's really held their own against that team. They should have won an extra game because of how well they played. They just need a little bit more run support at home, but they're looking good, but they don't look unbeatable.
Yeah. And I hope that, again, the Phillies continue to stay competitive there. Maybe the Braves even get out of these doldrums. It could be a 2-team race in the East in a way we didn't expect. I didn't mention the Diamondbacks. I feel bad. It's because I'm careful with my Diamondbacks hyperbole now, because I think it was last August I said on this show, are we sure the Diamondbacks aren't the actual best team in baseball? And then the world was like, no, they're not. They're not even going to make the playoffs. So I'll bite my tongue, but I do think they deserve credit in the NL.
And I think they're also the team, like, there's always like 2 or 3 teams that go toward they're going to not be in the playoffs, but they piss off a lot of playoff teams. The A's were that last year, right? Like, not saying that they're going to go to the playoffs, but they had a 500 second half because they were going up against competitive teams and making things interesting in some of the standings because they're like that gritty team. And that's definitely the Diamondbacks. The Reds are going to be that team for sure if they don't make the playoffs. And maybe it will be the Braves. Maybe the Braves, you mentioned the resurgence. But if they don't make it to the playoffs, they're going to be the team that's going to annoy a lot of teams on the way there. And you know what? I'm going to say on that same note, I think the Marlins are going to be that team too. Like the Marlins is going to be that team where they're not going to make the playoffs. We know that. But even the front office is going to be like, I didn't think this was going to happen this way. So around like August, September, they're going to be the team that just goes out and goes crazy, and it's going to change a lot of standings and wild card selections and all of that because of that team. I'm going to say that now. I'm going to say that right now.
I will say, as someone who was in Philadelphia this past weekend, the Marlins were annoying a hell of a lot of local Philadelphians over the last 3 days.
The thorn in the side teams, insane. And that's what the Mariners have always been for the A's. And there's always that one team that's just like, go away, stop bothering us. And they won't, and I think that's going to be the team because they're hanging out with the best of them too in their division.
We should do a check-in closer to the second half on thorn in the side teams and see how they're doing.
That's a good article. Like, these are the thorn in the side teams. It's a great listicle. They can do that.
Listicle. Yeah. BuzzFeed. If you're watching, listening, that's right. It's on the table for you.
Who is your thorn in the side team? Here is a quiz.
Yeah. Which thorn in the side team are you? And also which Disney princess are you? Just because we combined.
Those actually do coincide with each other.
Yeah. Not dissimilar. Jess, thank you so much for joining me again today, co-hosting the Baseball Insiders. Anything else you've got in the hopper that we should look out for?
I mean, I'm not just saying this, but really pay attention to the A's this season. The field is weird. I don't know how else to say that. But we're going to see the next steps. We haven't seen the best of Shea. We haven't seen the best of JJ. JJ Bleday is my all-star select. Hopefully his hitting is a little bit more consistent. It's the defense that he's been struggling with, but we have a lot of exciting players. Brent Rooker is finally coming back. And Lawrence Butler is just always fun to watch. And of course, Mason Miller, finishing it all out is really fun. He's the only guy that can get away with a Nickelback song and nobody's making fun of him for it.
Which song does he use?
Burn It to the Ground.
It's not even a Nickelback song I know.
It's actually pretty awesome. The lights go off. It's like Camilo Duvall kind of vibes. And there's fire and there's Mason.
Yeah.
It's listen to the song and think of somebody coming out of the bullpen. It's too good.
Yeah, slow-mo walk maybe instead of the
Well,
run.
now that we have a bullpen, because in the Coliseum it was on the field, so it wasn't as dramatic.
Yeah, you just kind of
and now it's like a WWE entrance. It's just too good. Because we have the I think we do fireworks too for him, which if we don't, we should. But
yeah. If you don't, put it in the notes packet. I will listen to the song we got off this podcast maybe a couple of times in a row.
You'll like it for sure. It'll be on repeat.
I don't have a problem with Nickelback. I'm gonna be perfectly honest.
I don't either. And I think people who do are just sheep. They're like, oh, it's like when people say, I hate Joe Buck. No, you don't. Everybody else says it and you want to be a sheep. Yeah. Joe Buck is fantastic. Nickelback is really good. I probably have like 13 of their songs on my Spotify. I'm not ashamed to say it. Thank you.
There was a moment in history when I was 6th grade. I got confronted by some bullies. This is what happens in 6th grade. And they were like, you probably can't even name any punk bands. And I was like, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, I don't think I can name any punk bands.
But I feel like you could do that.
Within the next year, I got like pretty into it. But at that point, I was like, oh no, I actually don't think I could do this. And I was like, Sum 41 and Nickelback. And then they looked at me and I was like, these guys are going to kick my ass. And then they were like, yeah, those are punk bands. I was like, okay, never mind. I guess I did it. So I've always been, Nickelback truther on the side of Nickelback.
I do not like pineapple pizza.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. But to quickly address the comments. Yeah. So Jess does not like pineapple pizza. And earlier I was told that someone else has these similar chairs. To that I say, good.
Chili on spaghetti. What is wrong with you, Justin? Stop it. You're going to start weird rumors.
Yeah, Cincinnati. God. She's not Cincinnati based, Justin. I don't know if you know that, but let's get out of here before this gets too much
heated. It's gonna get heated. Yeah.
It seems like we're in a dangerous spot. We're actually tripping on the edge of a fault line. So anybody who is joining us for the first time on the Baseball Insiders, thank you. If you're a repeat viewer, we appreciate you as well. We are live on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, also on all podcast platforms. Become a member if you like it. Just give us a thumbs up if that's the least you want to do. We'll take it. And until next time, Wednesday afternoon, back here with Robert Murray, 1 o'clock Eastern. Jess Kleinschmidt, thank you so much for joining us today. This was, I think this went, it's like an 11 out of 10. This went pretty well.
I'm going to go with that. And thanks for having me. This was fun.
Thank you. Sign off. See you, everybody.